Does the idea of going back to CRNA school and not being able to work keep you up at night? So first, let me just address that yes, it is true, most programs do not allow you to work while going back for CRNA school. The reason for this is because you are looking at about a 50 to 60 hour a week commitment between coursework and clinicals. These programs know that for their students to be successful in their programs, they need to be committed to doing their schoolwork. And a lot of programs have about anywhere from an 84 to an 87% pass rate for their coursework. Meaning if you drop below an 84%, you are at risk for being dismissed from the program. So the rule of not being able to work while in CRNA school is around the idea that these programs want to make sure that you're successful in the didactic portion of your schooling and that you're passing their courses. With all this being said, I encourage you to think about going back to CRNA school as an investment and not as something that's going to cause debt. I also encourage you to know your numbers, meaning how much are you making as an RN, and then how much do you anticipate being able to make as a CRNA. For me, for example, I was making $55,000 a year as an RN, and my first year out of CRNA school, I made $190,000. Now that was with overtime, but I still substantially increased my overall income. My first year out of school, we didn't have kids, we didn't have a house. I drove my 13-year-old car, and I paid off $80,000 of student loan debt in that first year alone. So I graduated CRNA school at 28 years old. If I were to work for 30 years, that puts me at 58. I will have made approximately almost $4 million more in a 30-year work history as a CRNA than what I would have made as an ICU nurse. If you were to consider I took on about $100,000 of student loan debt to go back to grad school, but my earning potential is now $4 million more over a 30-year period of time, for me, it was no question asked as far as whether it was a smart decision to invest in myself. Another thing to think about, what is your current debt to income ratio? When I was working as an ICU nurse, I had $90,000 for my undergraduate degree and I was making $55,000 a year. When I graduated CRNA school, I had about $180,000 of student loans, but I made $190,000 my first year out of CRNA school. So my biggest piece of advice is to run your numbers, know what you need as far as your budget. Don't be afraid to take out loans, but know what your realistic time frame is for retirement and then gauge how much more you would make as a CRNA compared to being a nurse.